New Texas predictions have been rolling in this week. Trending now to Texas, you got Jamie French, 5-star Michael Terry, 5-star Michael Fusi. And Texas just landed a 5-star in Khalil Lockett last week. Now they're trending for more, and we're going to talk about it in this video because I got Texas insider Justin Wells, and he's going to take us behind the scenes of some of these massively important recruitments. But before we get going, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruit channel, the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and we need Horn fans to jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Justin Wells from Inside Texas now. The recruiting prediction machine here at On3 shows 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fusi trending to Texas at 63%. Do you agree with that?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. I think, a lot of that's based on he's visited Texas a lot. And, he's been close to Texas for almost 2 years now. But at this stage, we're a week and a half from his decision on August 21st.
Yeah.
I do not think Texas is trending in this recruitment whatsoever.
Okay. Why not put a pick in for Oklahoma and get this thing going in the right direction then?
Yeah, you read my mind. That's something Eric Nalin and I discussed yesterday, or a couple days ago, rather, before the weekend, about putting in a pick for Michael Fusi. I'm going to probably go by there and see him before I actually put in an RPM, just so I can see him face-to-face, eye-to-eye. But right now, I think Oklahoma's the pick. It really came down to Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. Yeah. A&M kind of hung around the rim. Hiring Joe Hamilton from Florida was big, but it wasn't big enough. And so now Hamilton's actually back at Florida, and I don't think A&M's in this. It came in the end. I think it was the Sooners and the Longhorns. And honestly, talking to Michael over the years, he was adamant about getting on the field early. He really wants to play early, get an opportunity to shine as soon as possible, and that would be difficult at Texas. And that's something we've actually talked about off the record, with Brandon Baker and Trevor Gooseby and all the tackles coming up on that team, Cam Williams. It would have been tough to come in and play early. Whereas at Oklahoma, if you're paying attention to our Sooner Scoop site, which does a tremendous job on OU coverage, the offensive line is kind of a mess. And so for Fusi, if he wanted to maybe reclassify, he'd have a shot at playing in OU this fall. But I think OU is the team to beat there. I'll do an RPM after I go see him and touch base with him. But getting on the field is big early for him, and I think Oklahoma did that. And Bill Beatonball probably built the best relationship top to bottom.
Okay, so it's playing time. So OU did not out NIL Texas for Fusi?
No, they were both on par. If anything, Texas might have been a little bit more. Michael wants to play early.
All right. Now let's talk about one of your picks that went in this morning on Tuesday. New pick in for number 1 athlete Michael Terry. Now, I find it kind of interesting that you put the pick in now because he's going to take his recruitment into the fall. So what got you going? Why put the prediction in now?
Because I think, if Texas – with this one, Texas, I think, was the long leader for a while. Being close, the proximity, kind of growing up as a Texas kid, liking that atmosphere. He comes on campus in January for an unofficial visit during junior day, and I think he wanted to hear, you're an offensive weapon, we're going to keep you on offense. And I think Texas' sales pitch was, we like you on offense, but we think you might be a better college player on defense. So there was about a 6-month gap there between Texas and Terry. They continued to talk to each other. They continued. Tashard Choice has been recruiting him since 8th grade when he was at Georgia Tech. Yeah. So they've continued that. Fast forward to June. They bring him in on that first weekend for the official visit. A.J. Milwee destroys it. He literally – they went back and looked at some tape and said, we got to get out of this mindset that he's playing on defense. This guy can play on offense. And let's just figure it out. Let's get this kid in the program and let's figure it out. Could he play some H-back, some tight end? If there's only 2 receivers in this class, could Michael Terry be the third? There's so many of those options. And I think that's exactly what the Terry family wanted to hear. They want to know they're wanted. I think that's why Nebraska did such a good job in this recruitment because they made him feel wanted. Oregon, the same way. Will Stein recruited him in 8th grade when he's the OC at UTSA. But right now, if you talk to people close to that recruitment, I think Texas is the team to beat. Actually, I think the more we get closer and closer, I think he keeps pushing it back because he wants to make absolutely certain. But if you talk to people close to that recruitment, Texas is probably got the slight lead right now. I think it's growing. I think it started about right after Nashville the On3 Elite Series. I really believe in that first weekend in June. I think that's kind of when it started to grow. And over the last 2 months, Terry and Texas, which were already close, have become so much closer. So the opportunity to play near home, his family to see all his games, play in the SEC, and get on the offensive side of the football, that screams Texas.
All right. So now there's another 5-star that's trending. We're talking wide receiver Jamie French, and your coworker Joe Cook joined you. He put in a prediction for French. Now French is trending heavily to Texas, which makes me think if Texas has a bunch of 5-star wide receivers in this class, who is more game ready? Is it Khalil Lockett or is it Jamie French?
That's an excellent question, Josh. That's why you are the man. Man, that's tough. I would go with Khalil Lockett. Just because I saw him more recently. So call it recency bias.
Yeah.
He's a bigger kid now than he was a few months ago when we saw him in Nashville in May. He's bigger now than he was in June after his official visit to Texas. This kid's got some really broad shoulders. He's got a wingspan. He's got giant hands, giant feet. He's a 4.41 guy, according to his track coach at Saxe. And if you watch his tape, his feet are just outstanding. He's a technician, absolute technician. In the college game, those athletes generally get on the field a little bit quicker than the others just because they can have an impact. You get a guy like Lockett that doesn't necessarily need all the rigid technical training at receiver. He's very, very refined in that regard. I think that makes him more college ready. Jamie French might be a little bit more raw and add a few other different intangibles, and I love what he can bring. But Khalil Lockett, when you're talking college ready, the only thing he's going to really have to do is add a little bit more muscle. You know, he's 180, 185 now. You get him to 200, 205 pounds. He keeps that feet at functional mass. Khalil Lockett plays early. And so it's just hard to find receivers in high school with this refined set of skills. He sinks his hips when he in and out of routes. He high points the ball. Khalil Lockett's the real deal. There's a reason he's a 5-star. There's a reason On3 is so high on him. And that's why I think he's more college ready.
Let's stay on 5-star wide receivers, and this time talk about a generational type wide receiver in the 2026 class, and that's Chris Henry Jr. He has been committed to Ohio State for over a year now, like 13 months. But our On3's Max Torres just spoke to him. And Justin, did I hear this correctly that Texas is involved here? Now, I know this is probably a long play, and I'm not really trying to stir the pot, but I'm kind of stirring the pot here. Do you think that Texas and Chris Henry are going to have more contact as we head into his junior year of high school football?
No question, especially that he's at Mater Dei High School, which has turned into a de facto pipeline of sorts for the Texas Longhorns. Look, anytime we can talk about Chris Henry, I'm in. He is, you said generational. I was talking to a couple coaches the last few days. I cannot remember a kid that looks this good, this early, this fast. You could put a D1 uniform on him and throw him out into a college practice, and I don't think there would be a lot of separation. And he's 16 years old. He's every bit of 6'5 and a half, 6'6", 195 pounds. Ohio State, they got an early lead on this one. Son of former NFL receiver Chris Henry. But Oregon and Texas are hanging around the rim. Alabama is clamoring to get him on campus. You know, he'd built a relationship briefly when Kalen DeBoer was at Washington, and so he's going to adhere to that. But yeah, Texas, he's been talking to Chris Jackson a little bit. They've been touching base. You know, Texas is always going to be in Mater Dei. Coach Jackson graduated from there, and so that it's only natural. And they've got a 2027 tight end in Mark Bowman, who's also going to be a potential 5-star. But Chris Henry, Texas, Chris Henry is solid at Ohio State. Yeah, don't get it twisted.
No doubt.
He's solid. But when you watch Texas play, when you see Quinn Ewers, you see Arch Manning, you see the draft, you see what they do on offense, it's hard to ignore. And he even told Max Torres that. He's like, this is something that, I'm going to pay attention to Texas. They do a lot of good things. They have a lot of talent there, and their offense is special. And I think that's also going to be the reason Oregon is going to stay in there as well. And so, yeah, that just helps us to know we can cover Chris a little bit longer, because I love that Texas is involved. I didn't know how much they were going to dive into it. He told Max that he's looking at a fall unofficial visit to Texas, hopefully one of those games on those Saturdays, to try to just get him a little bit closer to the staff. It's early. You said it. The long game will be played. You said that too. But anytime we can talk about Chris Henry is a big deal, because he is truly a special, special talent. And I love that Texas they have the skins on the wall now to actually go into that recruitment kind of blind and say, all right, let's build it. Let's see what goes. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and hey, as it stands now, Texas is sitting at number 13 in the 2025 rankings, and it sounds like there's the rest of this month could really tell the story for Texas recruiting. So Longhorn fans, tap in with us, talk to us. How do we feel about these 5 stars that are still out there on the board, and where do you think the Longhorns sit in these recruiting rankings by the time August is over? Justin Wells with Inside Texas, thanks for dropping by today on the Inside Scoop. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.